David Collins. 30 minutes. Show with David Collins.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. I'm your host, David Collins, and we have another great episode for you today. Everybody, Merry Christmas, Joyeux Noël, Frohe Weihnachten, Feliz Navidad, Buon Natale, Stress dies Vam. We have a great Christmas special for you today. All the technical issues that we're having isn't going to be enough to stop that from happening. On the note of a holiday special, we have a special holiday giveaway that we're going to be doing. First 10 people to email dc30minutehalfhour@gmail.com with Christmas in the subject, we're going to send a couple David Collins 30-minute half-hour show t-shirts and a couple of pins, one of those being, of course, a color of the day pin. On that note, we have a great episode today, great guests, some great games. But before we start that today, everybody's favorite color of the day. Today's color of the day, white. Of course, special for the holiday. When you think of the color white, you may think of snow, angels, peace doves, churches, stars, red, white, and blue, all themes of the holiday. Today's color of the day, white. One last thing before we start the show, let's take a quick listen to our sponsor break this week. We've been doing this, we've also been editing it. Is this something that you see with other podcasts too, where they actually pre-record or record after the fact the actual ads for the show?
I've never seen this, but you're doing a hell of a job, buddy. Let me tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, we're going to go, maybe I kind of want to ask you about podcast formats too. That's perfect. So we'll be right back. And we have so many great sponsors on this show. We have a great guest today. Today's guest, Chris Scopo, and we're going to get right into world news with David Collins. And when we get into this world news here, we have a lot of things to talk about today, a lot of subjects to cover. But I like to ask this when we have a guest on the show. When you think of world news, Chris, what do you think about?
World news?
World news.
What is Twitter must be a burden right now. That's what I think of world news.
Is that right? What's going on Twitter?
Twitter. It's always on Twitter. Everything's on Twitter.
I see. Well, I'm not sure if this was circulating much on Twitter. I'm sure it was. Panera Bread. Did you hear about this?
I have not. What's going on?
Panera Bread was a little hot in the kitchen this week. So far, 2 lawsuits have been filed for wrongful death due to the high caffeine levels in their new lemonade, Extreme Lemonade. Did you hear about this?
I did hear about this. I heard Trump did something about this, or it was fake or something like that. That's hilarious.
Is that right? Did Trump have something to do with the lemonade scandal?
He did something. He said something, or it was a meme online or something like that. I don't know if it was true, but it was a meme or something online that he said.
Well, that's fascinating. I'm not sure if I heard anything about Trump. Either way, I hope those lawsuits go well. You know what they say, when life gives you lemons, sell them because your sugar's dead.
Are we laughing here? I don't know.
We have another great story here. I'm not sure if you heard about this. Did you hear about tornadoes down south this last couple of weeks? There are a lot of tornadoes going on.
My buddy's down there. He got stuck in a tornado.
Oh, that's too bad. It's very dangerous, and when it's extreme like that, we have ways that we like to kind of make that news more palatable. Tennessee tornadoes leave at least 6 dead and dozens hurt, and more than 40,000 without power. So you've already a little caught up on this story here.
Yeah, I'm all about it. My buddy didn't have power for like 3 days.
Well, it's always too bad when it's a tragic story like that. Dan McCullough thought this would be a great story this week to come out with another David Collins song parody. Why don't we take a little listen to Dan McCullough's song parody about the tornadoes?
The weather's right, the wind is high, I love this house, time to say goodbye. Tornado Alley, a windy for Christmas time. Tornado Alley, a windy for Christmas time.
Well, that's a great way to get into the holiday spirit here. Like we said, it's a great Christmas special we're trying to present today. I'm not sure if you caught my shirt. It's a dinosaur celebrating Christmas.
Hey.
What did you think about that song parody?
It's phenomenal. Honestly, it should go for a Grammy.
Well, that's great news. Dan McCullough, you heard that, a Grammy. Did you hear about IKEA?
I've heard of IKEA.
Well, IKEA was in the news this week. IKEA released a new 10-pound meatball for families to purchase for the holidays this year. The extra large signature IKEA meatball comes boxed and ready to cook, complete with accompaniments of an Allen wrench and extra screws.
Beautiful.
Now, you're an Italian-American comedian, is that correct?
That's what. Yeah.
Would
I'm
you ever
Italian.
consider for your family for Christmas maybe replacing the ham or the turkey with a large meatball? What do you think about that? As an Italian family.
Well, Italians don't have they have fish for Christmas. They don't really do meatballs on Christmas. It's fish.
That's strange. Well, I wonder who that meatball might be for there. How about this Oppenheimer movie? Did you see the Oppenheimer movie?
I did. Great movie. A little too long, but great movie.
A little too long. We'll have to take note of that there. It was finally set to release in Japan after initial nuclear backlash. Do you think it will be a bomb?
There you go. I liked it.
Well, it was interesting here. We had a... Jerry, you need to turn off your phone. The announcement was actually made on December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. Did you see that?
I did not see that, no.
Well, if you believe it, I guess just like our response, they wanted to release it when Japan least expected.
There you go. I like it. It's not
And
bad.
that was World News with David Collins. We have a great guest today. Today's special guest for our special Christmas special. Our guest is an amazing Italian-American New York City stand-up comedian who has worked with some of the most respected comics on the planet, performing at great venues like New York Comedy Club, Laugh Factory, Nifty Comedy Club, QED, Rar Bar, The Stand, Governors, Gotham Comedy Club, Levity Live, Fairfield Comedy Club, Comedy at the Carlson, The Improv, and many more. He's also worked and appeared as a guest on great podcasts and shows like the Rap Podcast, Red Eye, The Johnny Rogers Show, The Joe Matarese Podcast, You Know What Dude Podcast, The Sweet Buddies, Irish Goodbye, Bye Guys Podcast, Only Fee Hands, Baby Fever, The Bathhouse, and Ted Jones World Podcast. On his YouTube and Instagram, you can find a variety of comedy, including stand-up and street interviews. Please wish our great guest a Merry Christmas, Chris Scopo.
Hey, thank you.
And thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Is this your real voice, by the way? Do you do this voice all the time?
Well, you know, it's funny. They say some people do have a bit of a broadcast voice. I come from radio initially. I used to work in Manhattan, Kansas, 101.5 K-Rock, KMKF there. So maybe that's kind of where I got my radio voice. I have been doing radio since I was 18. I started at Kansas State University there. Shout out KSDB. You must do a different voice when you're on stage too. I actually heard that's very common with comedians. Is that right?
Not common at all. Actually, not.
I see.
It's very much the same thing as usual.
And I'm hearing that now because we listened to a bit of your stand-up, and we want to learn more about you and your comedy. But we had a new segment that we had to get into this week. Some of you may have already heard some of the rumors that were being spread about me. Of course, there was another David Collins, incidentally, a couple weeks ago, age 33, that died in Manhattan, Kansas, and there was some concern that might have actually been me.
Oh, buddy.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. Well, David Collins is a very popular last name. So
it seems to be. We're finding that out. But it did inspire us to come up with a new segment called David Collins in the Wild. And we had some other emails that we wanted to catch up on and never really got the reason to there. For instance, another David Collins in the Wild. We had an email here from Kane in Illinois. He said, at work today, a David Collins called the bar. Was it you? No, it wasn't me, Kane. Must have just been another David Collins in the wild. Do you know a David Collins?
I do not, no.
A surprising number out there. For instance, Dawn from Nebraska writes, amongst other things, she wrote, in high school, I kissed a David Collins. Then lastly, somebody else sent in this article. David P. Collins, age 51, died on December 4th after battling lung cancer and other health issues for a while. David was born and died in Dover, Delaware.
Rest in peace.
Poor David Collins. And that concludes our David Collins in the Wild. We sometimes do a segment called People with the Same Name. Do you know any other Chris Scopos out there?
I am actually the only Chris Scopo in the world. I looked this up.
Is that right? That's a fascinating subject there. So you don't know any other Chris Scopos of all the planet, and I'm not surprised. Incidentally, it's actually tough even finding information about you personally. You try finding different clips of you, and all it finds is episodes of, what was it here? It was Robert Kelly's You Know What Dude podcast. Every time you search your name, even when you're not a guest on the show, you seem to be tagged in every single one of those.
Yeah, I was on that podcast for a long time.
Are those some of the people that you started with? I kind of wanted to ask this. I'm curious, who was your crop starting up? Who are some of the people that you began comedy with?
Did you ever hear Pete Davidson?
Is that right? Is he somebody that you started with?
Yeah, he's a little more successful than me.
Right. Well, he must have been 16 by the time. How old are you, and how long have you been doing comedy?
I'm 36. I've been doing comedy 12 years. He was about 16, 17 when he started. Yep.
Wow, that's great. Well, they say I'm pretty good at guessing numbers there. That's curious. Who were some of the other people that you started comedy with there?
Let's see. Ricky Velez. This guy Tom Cassidy. A couple I got like that.
Tom Cassidy. I'm not sure if I've ever heard that name.
Very funny guy. I can't hear shit.
Is that right? Well, we just have a game here. That sound means it's time for our first game. We play games on the show. I'm sorry if nobody warned you there. Our first game today is called Who Said It? Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie. So we're going to go through a quote here, and you're going to have to say, is that something that you said at some point, or is that from a Christmas movie? Are you ready to play Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie?
Let's go.
That's great. Well, I hope you like this game here. Of course, it's for the season. It's great to have somebody, it's funny, a Christmas special, we have Chris Scopo. There's almost some sort of alliteration or maybe a rhyme scheme going on there. Isn't that interesting?
It's like you guys planned that.
Almost. We wish we would. We have a great team here, but Jerry is not that good at thinking ahead. Why don't we jump into round one here of Who Said It? Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie? Round one. It's drugs, mostly drugs. Yeah, they sell to the bad parts. They import a lot of drugs, yeah? Who said it?
I think that's me. I think that's me.
Jerry, I must say this is becoming a disaster without this. That's correct. That was you. I think we're going to have to put some of that in post here. Why don't we go ahead and take a little listen to that clip?
Stuff has to be like fraud.
It's drugs, mostly drugs. Yeah. They sell to the
Is it
drugs?
drugs?
They import they a lot of the drugs. Yeah, pills. A lot of pills.
But that was you on Irish Goodbye. Do you know that show?
That show doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, I know the show.
Is that right? I'm not too familiar. I was surprised to see it. It seemed like familiar faces on something that I had never seen before. Why don't we go ahead and jump into round two here of Who Said It? Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie? Round two. Okay, I will. Was that you? Or was
That's
that
got to be me. That sounds exactly like me.
I'm sorry, that is not correct. Would you like to hear?
No.
Why don't we take
What
a
movie?
quick listen to that clip? That's actually from Lifetime's movie, A Perfect Christmas.
I'm Santa Claus.
Hey, I will. I will. I will.
A Perfect Christmas. That's all right. Maybe you'll do better on this next round. Do you like this game?
Yeah, why not?
Who
Not
said
bad.
it? Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie? Let's go ahead and jump into round three. Round three. They're conquering tribes. One tribe conquered another tribe, and they don't remember. They don't forget. Chris Scopo or a Christmas Movie? Now that does seem pretty Christmas themed, although maybe a little more Thanksgiving themed. I'm not sure what might you have been talking about there, or might that Christmas movie maybe around the dinner table. What do you think?
I'm gonna say me again. I like answering me.
That's exactly right. Chris Scopo.
That's crazy.
No way. You're joking.
I swear to God, no, they hate each other. They're conquering tribes. Like one tribe conquered another tribe, and they don't
old school.
They don't forget that they killed the whole entire fucking tribe basically.
That was on the Bye Guys podcast.
There you
You
go.
have so many podcasts, and I want to hear about being a guest on so many shows, because I've actually been invited this week. You may catch me. I'll be appearing on the Johnny O podcast. That's going to be interesting. And last week, I had done a 90-minute live show with Hack Ride Studios. It's always strange to be being a guest on such a variety of shows. I'm sure you can relate. But first, why don't we go ahead and look into round 4 here of Who Said It, Chris Scopo or a Christmas movie? Kids today, so desensitized by movies and television. Was that Chris Scopo or was that a Christmas movie?
I definitely could not say the word desensitized that well. So no, I'd say Christmas movie.
That's exactly right. Round 4, Christmas movie. Do you know what
I'm
movie that
crushing
was?
this game. I'm
Do you know what
crushing
movie
this
it
game,
might
by
have
the
been
way.
from?
Not a clue.
That's too bad. It was Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Kids today, so desensitized by movies and television. What do you want?
You certainly did crush that game, did a great job on that game. That was Who Said It, Chris Scopo, or a Christmas movie. Now, Chris, what's it like being an Italian-American comic in New York City?
It's the same as being an Irish American comic, a Greek American comic. There's really no difference.
Is it right? Because that's what I wanted to ask you about here. You know, what did you think about what's going on in Israel right now? And do you relate more as an Italian-American comedian or a New York comedian?
I'm more of a New York comedian, not an Italian American comedian. I don't know where Israel has to come into play, but yeah, I know a lot of Jews. They're good people.
Right. Well, certainly that's interesting. Do you think that because there are so many Italian comedians here, and I think we're going to get into that in a moment here. Right. Well, it's a great place to start, New York there. That's interesting. But you have so many other people around you, and these aren't actually Italian American comedians there. But you do run into, noticing it seems that there are only a few different types. But many comedians who start in New York City, they kind of come from a different crop and the same crop there. I wanted to go through this list of other comics that started in New York City and ask, who do you think you most compare to?
Okay.
Bill Hicks, Greg Giraldo, Aziz Ansari, or Sarah Silverman?
I would have to say I would love to be compared to any of them, but I would say Greg Giraldo is the one I would soon. I think I'd
Giraldo, and maybe that would be my second guess there. So you probably don't do a lot of yelling on stage, or those kind of Bill Hicks and Aziz Ansari, more charismatic people. How would you describe your style of comedy?
I just talk about whatever bothers me. So that's what I talk
right?
about.
Would you consider yourself maybe a bit of a rant comedian?
No, I'm not a rant comedian. I write jokes, but
a joke writer.
Not a Bill Hicks joke writer, but just about what goes on in my life.
So maybe more personalized to you and not so political. That's interesting. We had Anthony Zenhauser on the show, and he considered himself a bit of a joke writer also, but he's somebody that's often writing for roasts and other people's maybe shows or events. Do you do a lot of writing for other people's events?
No, I'm not that good enough. So no, I just do my own stuff.
I see. Well, we did want to talk about you being a guest on so many shows. Like I said, maybe I can kind of get some insight there because you worked with professional comedian Joe Matarese. We saw this. This must have been very exciting. Joe Matarese, a household name. Many of people will know that from, I believe it's season 9 of America's Got Talent. And that's where a lot of people know him from, of course. But he's gone on to work with many different, I can't think of any on the top right now, but he's gone on to work with other mainstream broadcasting centers also. How was that to work with such a professional comedian, Joe Matarese?
Good guy, He's not great with on time, but he's a good guy.
Is that right? Is he a little delayed? Do you think that's something, because this is, this might be kind of where we're getting so many notes about being an Italian-American comedian, because you're working with him and together in the same room, it's two Italian-American, and he's somebody that writes so much material kind of surrounding his heritage there.
Yeah. Well, you got to go with what works. I guess that's it.
Where does he think of you? Because that's a great idea. I notice you're a guest on so many great podcasts. How do you think he kind of chose you to co-host?
How did he choose me? I don't know. My buddy asked me to do his podcast one day, and I came in. It was funny, and then that was it.
Oh, that's great. So you just met each other once and said, hey, we have some chemistry. Maybe we should do this again sometime. That's fascinating.
Might as well, yeah.
So what's next for you?
I'm going to take a nice nap in a little bit. I think that's going to help. That's going to be a big help to me.
Is that right? Did you do any other podcasts today? I noticed we had a little issue getting started today. We had technical issues here. He was running a little due to that New York traffic. We hear all about that New York traffic. What's going on over there today?
I was doing another podcast. It was just a little longer than what I expected.
Right.
You know, I had to cut my dog's walk short today.
Uh-oh.
So he's a little upset with me.
Right. I'm sure he's not looking forward to your nap there. So what's next for you artistically? You're co-hosting on so many shows. You're getting your name out there, maybe a little more on the social medias or on the YouTube. One thing that's interesting is you have such a great following on social medias. Your YouTube does not seem to track.
No, it's not. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Well, we're looking to get some numbers on that YouTube. A good number of course, we're mostly an audio only format, but our YouTube numbers have been growing.
Yeah, well, help me grow there.
Everybody check out Chris Scopo on YouTube. Do you do anything on TikTok or any other forms of
I'm on
media
the
there?
TikToks. I'm on the TikToks. I'm on the Instagrams. I'm all over. I'm all over,
Perfect. And like
baby.
we said, you do stand-up comedian and street interviews. We've done some of those street interviews, maybe a little less comedy focused, just trying to talk about and cover any local events around here when we get the opportunity. What do you think about these street interviews? What are you aiming at when you do that? Are you covering local events, or are you just bringing new ideas to the people?
Basically, I want controversy. Controversy sells. That's a big thing in this Instagram. Instagram wants controversy. They don't want being polite. They want to talk and they want people to argue in the comments.
Right. Well, that's fascinating. We have another segment. Maybe we could get some of your thoughts on this too. But we had one thing I needed to get into here. We had our old segment, Thoughts and Prayers. We wanted to give some thoughts and prayers today.
Okay.
Good luck.
Our first thoughts and prayers today go to Time's Person of the Year, Taylor Swift. It must be tough to know that you're at the top of the mountain from here and it's all downhill. If I was Time magazine, I might have waited until a year nobody died at her concerts.
There you go. Someone died at a concert? I didn't even know about that.
Oh, you didn't hear about that? We covered it a couple weeks on the show. Somebody in Rio de Janeiro.
Die.
Too bad there. What do you think about Taylor Swift? Have you been following this at all? Have you gone to any of her concerts?
I've not gone to her concerts, but I have been following her and Travis Kelce on TikTok. Let me tell you something. It's out there. These two are lovebirds. They're going to make it. And
I see.
I'm a big fan of Kelce. So
Well, if they make it, she truly deserves to be Times Person of the Year next year. We had one other thoughts and prayers I needed to give out here to friend of the show, KP Burke, who recently had his stand-up special, Escape from Jacksonville, removed from YouTube. It has since been re-uploaded on his own YouTube channel. So thoughts and prayers to friend of the show, KP Burke. We had him on the show about 6 months ago now. Have you not heard about this? He had a special through some sort of license, and they said they sold out and said, we don't need this type of edgy material on our channel. Gave him back the product. He had to re-put it on his own channel, losing about 60,000 views.
That's awful. KP's a good dude. He's
That
not
is
edgy
too bad. So everybody, if you're looking for a good comedy special and haven't seen Escape from Jacksonville, thoughts and prayers. Do you have any thoughts and prayers that you'd like to hand out this week?
Let's see. Thoughts and prayers to my ex. She sucks. There you go.
Perfect. Well, we have so much that we need to get into on today's show. I think we're running out of time, but it is our special Christmas episode today, so we wanted to do a small Christmas celebration. First of all, to honor today's and fully make Christmas season official today, we have a nice tree that Jerry had put together. It was very nice. I might have expected a little more, but it's fine. At least we have some sort of tree. So to make it official, Jerry has this little angel here, so we're going to put the angel on the top of the tree.
Can I see Jerry? Is Jerry real?
He just sits behind the camera. He has appeared before, but not in the last few weeks, not since this haircut. He's very embarrassed about it. People keep asking
Jerry,
to see him,
come
though.
on.
It's very interesting.
Let me see your hair, Jerry.
Do you have anything? Would you like to cheers the Christmas season this year with me?
No, I'm good.
What would you like to toast to?
I don't know. Not much right now.
Well, why don't we toast to Merry Christmas and to world peace? I always like to cheers to world peace.
Well, I don't think that's happening right now. I don't know if you've seen the world, but the world's not at peace at all.
All right, Jerry, Chris Scopo, Merry Christmas.
Look at that. Ooh, was that vodka?
Hand to the David Collins 30-minute half-hour audience. Cheers. Ooh. Well, that was a great way to celebrate Christmas.
Is that vodka?
Do you have any Christmas traditions?
I go on Christmas Eve. I go and eat fish on Christmas Eve for the Italians. That's about it.
That's perfect, and you mentioned that earlier. That's great that you're consistent. I'm not sure what we'll do. I usually might just get takeout with my mother. I'm glad that she's out of the hospital. Maybe we'll try that meatball.
What are you doing?
I'm emailing David Collins.
And of course, that sound means it's time for David Collins call-ins and emails. Our first email today comes in from Anne in Illinois, letting us know that she got all of the answers right on last week's game. What does Joe Rogan say next? Thanks so much for letting me know, Anne. Congratulations. And anybody else who did well on today's game, make sure you email me, dc30minutehalfhour@gmail.com. Last week, we just have some voicemails that we need to get through. Of course, we have some great voicemails to celebrate Christmas, some musical voicemails if you haven't already gotten the theme. Our first voicemail this week comes in. We have a Jamaican correspondent that we love to hear from, B-Dude. So let's take a quick listen to B-Dude this week.
Wagwan David, this a B-Dude with a holiday message for you and your fans. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds hitched by my doorstep, singing sweet songs of melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Merry Christmas, man. Keep everything crease in the new year.
And Merry Christmas to you, B-Dude. Thanks so much for that call-in. What did you think about that?
Lovely. Fantastic.
That's exactly what I thought. How lovely. What a great musical call-in here. We had another call-in this week come in from somebody that we haven't heard from. He didn't even say where he's from, but Uncle Cletus sent us another Christmas call-in here, so let's take a quick listen.
Hi, it's Uncle Cletus. You know me from my famous hit song, I Got a Tiny Penis. That rhymes, Uncle Cletus. Tiny penis. Well, as you all know, COVID's not real. Trans rights aren't real, but psychosis is. I didn't ask Santa for psychosis, but I got it anyway. Cletus, tiny penis. I am a man of constant sorrow. I've seen trouble all my days. I'm Uncle Cletus with a tiny penis. Weird Al Yankovic stole my career trajectory. As you could probably tell, I'm a little heavy on the eggnog, but I just wanted to wish everyone in the comedy Illuminati a happy Kwanzaa.
All right. Well, that was Uncle Cletus. I wouldn't exactly call that a hit. I'm not sure what that was. What did you think about that, Chris?
I think he's got a tiny penis.
That certainly seemed to be the message there. Well, thanks so much for that special Christmas message, Uncle Cletus. We just have one more call in, of course. I'm sure many of you at home know who that might be. Austin Ingalls has another special Christmas call in here. I'm not sure if this is exactly themed, but let's take a quick listen to Austin Ingalls this week.
Nike is coming out with a autism Air Force One. So that means Nelly's going to have to drop a new song. Give me 2 purrs so I can get to nervous walking in my autism ones. Nervous walking in my autism ones. Thanks, David.
And thank you, Austin Ingalls. What a great call in. He always calls in and sends these great jokes. What did you think about that?
Great. Phenomenal. I mean, it was so good.
That's perfect. Do you write a lot of topical humor with your jokes?
I try to, yeah. Whatever goes on, I try a little something.
That seems to. Do you put it in your phone or do you write it in a notebook? That's a big controversy we've had with many guests.
Oh, so what I do is I take the initial joke, put it on the phone, and then I expand it if it works originally on the notebook.
I
So
see.
all these initial jokes on the phone.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Of course, that sound means it's time for our last game today. Game 2 today is, again, on theme Christmas or Hanukkah. So we're going to go through some comedians' names, and you're going to have to say whether or not they celebrate Christmas or if they celebrate Hanukkah.
Let's do it.
Are you ready to play Christmas or Hanukkah?
Let's do it.
Perfect. Why don't we jump into round 1 here? Our first comedian, Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, he's Hanukah.
I'm sorry, that's not correct. Seth MacFarlane, famously an atheist.
Oh, okay.
But based on reports, he does celebrate Christmas.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's perfect. What do you think about this game? Do you like this game more or less than Chris Scopo or Christmas Movie?
I like this game more. I like this. I like to, judge people who they are by what their last name is. It's fun.
That's great. It's always fun. I'm a little worried anytime people want to guess the ethnicity of other people, but religion, it might be a more wholesome game to try to play. Why don't we jump into round 2 here? Round 2, Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh, that guy's Christmas till he dies.
Sebastian Maniscalco. And remember, everybody, send me your answers, dc30minutehalfhour@gmail.com. See how well you did on the games this week. Sebastian Maniscalco famously celebrates both.
No, his wife is Jewish. That's right.
He is Italian, but he has a Jewish wife, has a lot of hilarious material talking about raising a child of both.
I get that one right, though. That one's right.
It's a little bit, we've been arguing whether or not we need to get a sound effect that mimics both the right and wrong answer, a kind of a middle ground there, and it's been an issue for quite a while. You really think that we would have gotten around to it by now? But that's all right. Why don't we go ahead and look at round 3 here? Round 3. Alex Edelman.
I know Alex. He's Jewish, so he's Hanukah.
Right. That is correct. Alex Edelman, 34 years old, a Jewish stand-up comedian. That's great. That's so nice that you've heard of so many of the comedians that we bring up today. That's fascinating to me. Why don't we jump ahead and look at round 4? Round 4 of Christmas or Hanukkah. Mort Saul.
That's Hanukah. That's
Mort Saul.
There's no way that's a Catholic person.
That's correct. Mort Saul is famously, and we tried to trick you with this one. We didn't know. Maybe you'd think, ooh, that's too obvious, but you're right. The American Jewish stand-up comedian Mort Saul, who died October 26th at age 94. I think that was a couple years ago also at this point, but that's great. That was Christmas or Hanukkah. Chris Scopo, Merry Christmas. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. Do you have anything else that you want to say to me or my audience?
Thank you so much. Have a happy holiday, everybody.
That's perfect. Remember, find Chris Scopo on YouTube. We're trying to give him a David Collins bump today. But thanks again. What a great episode. That's perfect. Everybody listening, I've been David Collins, and you've been the best.
David Collins. 30 minutes. Show with David Collins.